Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a bit different. Think of it as financial archaeology.
Yeah, exactly. We're digging, but not for old pots. We're digging for, well, timeless financial ideas.
We're putting aside the noise of the modern market for a moment and traveling way back, like over 4,000 years back, to Babylon.
Legendary Babylon. And our source material isn't, dusty economic treatises. It's these incredible parables, a guide to understanding money from maybe the world's first truly wealthy society.
It's fascinating stuff.
Absolutely. And the mission here, it's not just a history lesson. It's about pulling out actionable stuff for today. We're extracting these, fundamental laws of wealth building that just work. They work across time, across cultures.
So what are we focusing on?
We're really looking at the core framework. How does someone ambitious actually get money? How do you hold on to it safely? And crucially, how do you make that money you've saved start working for you, making more money?
And what's really striking is the context they built this on, this idea that the whole nation's prosperity, it depended on individuals being financially sound.
Precisely. It wasn't top-down economy thinking. It was more organic. They knew that collective wealth is just the sum of lots of individual successes.
So personal finance was a national priority.
In a way, yeah. And that meant preparation was key. Their whole philosophy boiled down to something quite profound. Your actions can only be as smart as your thoughts. And your thoughts, well, they're only as good as your understanding.
So knowledge first.
Knowledge first. Proper preparation, good information. That was the absolute key to personal success. And they figured if enough individuals succeeded, the whole nation would thrive.
Which meant financial literacy couldn't just be for the elites.
No way. It had to be taught. It had to be something everyone understood and used. From the guy making chariots to the scribe copying laws, everyone needed to get it.
Okay, let's paint a picture of this place. Babylon. It conjures up images of, well, incredible riches, doesn't it? Fabulous treasures.
And it wasn't just myth. It was a real hub, ruled by kings who were apparently pretty wise, promoting trade, building massive public works. It wasn't just about conquest. It was built on, enterprise and a sense of order.
And those walls, the famous walls of Babylon, they speak volumes about their mindset, right? Security, stability.
Oh, definitely. The accounts describe them as basically impregnable. Huge, massive constructions designed to withstand anything. Years-long sieges, huge armies. They valued preservation.
And here's the amazing part, connecting back to finance, those walls were supposedly never actually breached by force.
Right. The city only fell around 540 BCE when the king, Nabonidus, lost a battle outside the city. Cyrus the Great apparently just walked through open gates.
It's such a powerful metaphor, isn't it, for personal finance, too?
Totally. You can have the best external defenses, the safest portfolio, the highest savings rate. But if your internal management, your own discipline or judgment fails.
Oof. Years of careful building can just vanish. A moment of carelessness.
Exactly. Lack of vigilance, trusting the wrong advice. It undermines everything.
So inside this incredibly rich, fortified city, we find the average person's struggle, which feels very modern, actually.
It does. We get introduced to these two guys, Bansir, a chariot maker, and Kabi, a musician. And they basically represent, us, the everyday person trying to get ahead.
And Bansir has this moment of realization.
Yeah, it's quite striking. He and Kabi are talking, and Bansir points out, look, we've worked hard our whole lives. We're masters at what we do, chariots, music.
Top of their game.
Right. But here we are, living in the richest city on earth, surrounded by wealth, and what are we having for dinner? Sour goat's milk and porridge, basically scraping by.
And he asks that killer question.
He does. He says, essentially, after half a lifetime of busting my gut, my purse is empty. Why can't we get ahead? Why can't we acquire silver and gold beyond just basic survival?
Kami's right there with him, same boat.
Yeah, Kabi admits he's constantly scrambling, just trying to feed his family. And that's when they hit on it, the big aha moment. They realized they hadn't failed because they were lazy or bad at their jobs. They failed because they'd poured all their energy into mastering their craft, but they never actually learned how to build wealth.
They just focused on the work, not the money management side.
Exactly. They traded their time and skill for wages, spent what they earned, and just assumed being good at making chariots or playing music would eventually lead to riches. They never sought out the actual rules of getting rich.
And this wasn't just their problem, was it? It went right to the top.
No, it was a national issue. King Sargon himself noticed it. He saw all these amazing public works, canals, temples getting built, but the average person was still poor.
Where was all the money going?
Well, the king's chancellor investigated and came back with the blunt truth. The gold wasn't circulating. It had accumulated in the hands of a few wealthy individuals. He specifically mentions a guy named Archad,
The richest man in Babylon?
the very same, because Arcad and others like him knew how. They understood the system. The gold just slipped through everyone else's fingers.
So the king's response was, interesting.
Very pragmatic, reflecting that core Babylonian idea we talked about. If only a few know how to get rich, well, then they need to teach everyone else. Knowledge had to be shared.
And Arcad became the designated teacher.
He did. And his whole philosophy on wealth is key. He immediately throws cold water on the idea of just getting lucky.
Right. He wasn't a fan of fickle fate.
Not at all. He saw wealth primarily as power. Not just coins, but the power to enjoy life, to travel, eat well, buy beautiful things, support grand projects like temples. It was about freedom and capability.
But why was unearned wealth, like a lottery win, considered so bad?
Because Arcad believed that without the knowledge to manage it, unearned gold was actually destructive. It created two types of people, both problematic.
Which are?
Either the wanton spender who just burns through it all on instant gratification because they don't know how to make more, or the fearful miser who hoards it, terrified of spending a single coin because they know they can't replace it.
So you need the know-how.
Absolutely. Arcad's core message was, real lasting wealth has to be built and managed with knowledge and discipline. Otherwise, it's just temporary. It'll disappear. It's earned, not found.
It's a result, not an accident. And that discipline, that knowledge, that leads us straight into Arcad's practical advice, the famous cures. Now, Arcad himself wasn't born rich or wise, was he? He started out quite humbly.
Not at all. He began as a simple scribe. And the story of how he got his financial education is really telling. It involved a moneylender named Algamish.
Right, the all-night carving session.
Exactly. Arcad basically made a deal. He agreed to work all night, carving the ninth law onto a clay tablet for Algamish, foregoing his usual pay. But instead of money, he asked for wisdom. He wanted Algamish to teach him how to become wealthy.
Trading immediate comfort for long-term knowledge, that's a theme here.
It's fundamental. Sacrifice now for a much bigger gain later. And Algamish's first lesson became the cornerstone, the first cure for a lean purse. Start thy purse to fattening.
Okay, what's the core principle?
It sounds almost too simple, maybe even obvious today, but is revolutionary. A part of all you earn is yours to keep. And that part should be at least 1/10, 10%.
But didn't Arcad push back initially, like, isn't all my money mine?
He did, and Algamish shut him down immediately. Far from it, he said. And this is where the real insight hits.
Explain that.
Algamish pointed out, you pay the guy who makes your clothes, you pay the guy who sells you food, you pay your landlord, you spend all your time working for other people.
Ouch.
Yeah. Fool, Algamish basically called him. You pay everyone except yourself. The idea is if you make it a non-negotiable rule to keep that first tenth for yourself before paying anyone else.
Then it starts to build up.
Exactly.
Okay.
Over 10 years, Algamish argued, you'd accumulate the equivalent of one full year's earnings just from that tenth. And that's before that saved money starts earning anything itself.
The psychological shift must be huge, moving from being a leaky bucket to, like, a reservoir.
Totally. And the metaphor they used is just perfect. That first copper coin you save, that's the seed from which your tree of wealth will grow. It's not instant. It's organic growth.
And Arcad tried it himself.
He did. And he made this critical discovery. Even though he was saving 10%, he found he was no shorter of funds than before. He didn't actually feel the pinch.
Why do you think that 10% feels manageable? Why doesn't it hurt more?
Well, I think it's because our expenses are incredibly elastic. They just naturally expand to consume whatever income we have, right? If you make 100, you tend to spend 100.
Parkinson's law for money.
Kind of, yeah. So by taking that 10% off the top, immediately paying yourself first, you mentally adjust your budget to the remaining 90%. Your brain just accepts that 90% is what you have to work with. It's much easier than trying to cut back after you've already mentally allocated the full 100%.
If you don't save it first, it just disappears on stuff.
Guaranteed. Which leads perfectly into the next step. Once you're saving that 10th, you absolutely have to manage the rest. And that's the second cure. Control thy expenditures.
Budgeting, the B word.
The ancient B word. But yeah, it's universal. The core idea is simple. Unless you actively control them, your necessary expenses will always grow to meet your income. Arcad warned against confusing what's necessary with what's simply desired.
A very common trap. So how did they recommend controlling spending back then? No apps, no spreadsheets.
Very hands-on. Arcad taught people to literally get a clay tablet or, parchment, whatever, and write down everything they wanted to spend money on, all their desires, all their needs.
Get it all out there.
Get it all out there. Then, the hard part, go through that list and rigorously select only the things that are truly necessary or that can be paid for using only the 9/10 of income left after saving your 10th.
And the rest.
You physically had to cross them out, scratch them off the list, except that those desires, for now, must go unsatisfied. It forces you to make conscious choices.
It makes the trade-offs real.
Exactly. And here's the clever bit. The one desire that must stay on the list, the one that gets priority, is the desire for your purse to get fatter. Saving that 10% becomes the primary goal you're fulfilling, not a painful sacrifice.
Okay. So say first, control spending. What's next? The money can't just sit there.
Precisely. It's not enough to just accumulate. That leads to the third cure. Make thy gold multiply.
Putting your money to work.
Right. Gold just sitting in a purse, Arcad said, is lazy. It's idle. It needs to be put to labor so it can reproduce, like attracts like. The goal is passive income.
That golden stream idea.
Yeah, he described it as a golden stream that flows continuously into your purse, whether you're working, traveling, sleeping. The money itself is doing the earning.
So how did Arcad first do this? What was his first successful investment?
After learning his lesson about saving, his first smart move was lending some of his savings to a guy named Agar, who made shields. Agar needed capital, for materials, maybe hiring help.
A business loan, basically.
Pretty much. Agar used the money, made his shields, sold them, and paid Arcad back the principal amount over time. Plus, he paid what Arcad called a liberal rental. Interest, exactly. But here's the crucial step. Arcad didn't just take that interest money and spend it on nice things.
He reinvested it.
Immediately. He put that rental income right back to work alongside the original principal. So now, both the initial capital and the earnings were generating more earnings. Compounding.
That concept, compounding, it's maybe the single most powerful financial idea ever, isn't it?
It really is the engine. Arcad used a fantastic example to drive this home. He talked about a farmer who invested just 10 pieces of silver for his son when the son was born.
Okay.
The deal was that the money would earn rental, or interest, equal to 1/4 of its value every 4 years.
Doesn't sound like a huge return, especially over 4 years.
No, it seems slow. But watch what happens. When the son turned 20, that 10 silver pieces had grown to about 30.5. Okay, decent growth.
But not earth-shattering.
Not yet. But the magic happens later. By the time the son was 50 years old, that initial small pot of 10 silver pieces had ballooned to 167 pieces, almost 17 times the original amount.
Wow. The growth really speeds up over time.
Massively. It accelerates dramatically in the later decades. The lesson is crystal clear. Every single piece of silver you save and invest becomes like a little worker, earning more silver, which then earns even more. It builds its own momentum.
Okay, so we've covered earning, saving, budgeting, and investing for growth. Seems like we've got the basics down. But Arcad knew there was another big hurdle.
Oh, yeah. Once you start accumulating something, the next big challenge isn't getting more. It's keeping what you have. As he apparently said, misfortune loves a shining mark. Wealth attracts risk.
Which brings us to the fourth cure. Guard thy treasures from loss.
This is absolutely critical, and it introduces what Arcad called the primary law of investment, which is just as true today. Security for the principal, protecting your initial capital has to be priority number one.
Don't lose your seed money.
Exactly. Arcad was very firm on this. Don't get seduced by romantic desires to get rich quick. That path almost always leads to taking stupid risks and losing everything.
And he knew this from personal experience, right? That painful first loss.
He really did. It clearly scarred him. He told the story of his very first attempt at investing using his entire first-year savings. He trusted it to a guy named Asmur.
Asmur the brickmaker. Not exactly a gem expert.
Precisely the problem. Asmur was traveling abroad, and Arcad, in his youthful ignorance, asked him to buy valuable Phoenician jewels. Asmur, knowing nothing about gems,
got totally ripped off.
Completely. He was easily fooled by some scammers and came back with a bag full of worthless bits of glass that just looked like jewels. Arcad lost everything he'd painstakingly saved that first year.
Ouch. A hard lesson.
A very hard lesson. But it drove home the absolute necessity of competent advice.
Stick to experts in their field.
Absolutely. The wisdom is simple. If you need advice on jewels, talk to a jeweler. If you want to invest in sheep, talk to a herdsman. If you take financial advice from a brickmaker,
you're going to end up with bricks. Or worse, worthless glass.
You're basically paying for their ignorance with your savings. You have to seek out people with proven experience and skill in handling money and the specific type of investment you're considering.
It's the ancient version of doing your due diligence. Don't trust blindly.
Exactly. Minimize risk, maximize the chance your wealth will actually last by being cautious and getting good advice.
Okay, so protect the principal. What about longer-term protection? Thinking ahead.
That brings us to what the book calls the sixth cure. Provide an advance for thy growing age. We skip the fifth for a moment. We'll circle back. This is all about planning for the inevitable future.
Retirement planning, essentially. And maybe life insurance.
Yeah, planning for when you can't work as hard or perhaps aren't around anymore. Arcad pointed out that ending up with a lean purse in old age or leaving your family unprotected, well, that's a preventable tragedy.
And he used Babylon's walls again as a metaphor here, didn't he?
He did. Those massive walls represented humanity's deep-seated desire for protection, for security against future threats, proactive defense.
So what are the modern walls?
Things like retirement accounts, savings plans, life insurance, disability insurance, reliable, steady investments. These are the financial structures we build today to protect us from the predictable challenges of aging and the unpredictable tragedies life can throw at us.
It's interesting, he even seemed to anticipate the concept of insurance.
Yeah, he mused about a system where many people contribute small amounts regularly, creating a large fund to support the family of anyone who died unexpectedly. It shows that drive for collective security is ancient.
So the principle is, build your financial defenses now, while you can, to ensure stability later.
Precisely. Think ahead, plan ahead, build those walls.
All right, let's tackle that element everyone wonders about. Luck. Good old lady luck. Arcad students asked him straight up, is it just random chance, or can you actually attract good luck?
It's a great question. And the conclusion they reached, guided by Arcad, was really insightful. While maybe finding a stray coin is random chance, real sustained good luck seems to favor the prepared and the decisive.
Opportunity knocks, but you have to open the door.
And quickly. The key, they decided, is recognizing a genuine opportunity when it appears and then acting on it immediately. Hesitation is the enemy of good fortune.
And they had a great word for the person who lets opportunities slip by.
The procrastinator. A visiting Syrian defined it perfectly. The procrastinator is simply someone who constantly puts off doing things they know would benefit them.
We all know that feeling.
We do. And opportunities, Arcad stressed, are fleeting. They don't hang around waiting for people who are indecisive or slow to act.
There was that story of the merchant who missed out because of some fancy robes.
Yeah, classic example. He was offered a stake in a really promising business venture. Solid plan, good potential returns. But joining required him to forego buying some expensive scarlet robes he and his wife really wanted right now. That immediate frivolous desire made him hesitate. He delayed his decision.
Yeah.
By the time he finally decided, maybe a day or two later, the chance was gone. Someone else, a man of action, had seen the value and jumped in immediately. Opportunity lost because of short-term gratification.
And the sheep buyer story reinforces the same point, right?
Yeah.
Vacillation kills deals.
Absolutely. A shepherd offered a buyer a flock of sheep at a really good price. A bargain. But the buyer haggled, hesitated, and, crucially, refused to put down the required deposit that same night. He wanted to wait.
Big mistake.
Huge. The farmer knew a good deal attracts attention fast. By the next morning, word had got out, other eager buyers showed up, and they ended up paying nearly 3 times what the first guy could have got it for. He vacillated, he lost.
The lesson seems to be, when a good opportunity presents itself and you've done enough homework to know it's good, act. Don't overthink it into oblivion.
Exactly. Protect yourself from your own tendency to hesitate. Make the decision. Commit. Arcad's final word on it was clear. Good luck favors the person who accepts opportunity. The goddess of good luck smiles on men of action.
So Arcad laid out these cures, these principles, and eventually this wisdom was condensed even further into what they called the 5 laws of gold.
Right. And the story that really illustrates the power of these laws, maybe more than anything else, involves Arcad's own son, Nomir.
This story really gets to the heart of it. What's more valuable, money or the knowledge of how to manage money?
Precisely. Arcad poses this hypothetical. If you could have a bag full of gold right now, or a clay tablet with financial wisdom carved on it, which would you choose?
Most people would grab the gold.
Of course. And Arcad knew that. He also knew his son, Nomir, having grown up wealthy, probably lacked the hard-won experience needed to handle money properly. He hadn't earned it himself.
So Arcad set him a test.
A big one. He gave Nomir both things. a hefty bag of gold, a significant inheritance, and a clay tablet carefully inscribed with these 5 laws of gold. Then he sent him out into the world for 10 years to make his own way. The wisdom was the real inheritance, but Nomir had to prove he could use it.
And how did Nomir do initially? Straight A's.
Not quite. He admitted later that the gold basically fled from his inexperienced hands like a wild hare. He lost the entire initial stake.
No! Did he just spend it all?
Worse, he lost it through classic investment mistakes, the very things his father's laws warned against. There were 2 main disasters.
Okay, what were they?
First, he got into a partnership to run a merchant shop. Sounds okay, but Nomir knew nothing about trade, nothing about that specific business. He just gave his gold to partners who promised big returns. Predictable result.
Lost it. And the second?
Even more foolish, maybe. He got lured into a supposedly sure-thing wager on a horse race. Some smooth-talking guys convinced him this one horse couldn't possibly lose.
Let me guess.
It lost, spectacularly. And later, when Nomir was broke and working as a laborer, he found out the guy who did win the big bet was secretly in cahoots with the very same guys who'd convinced Nomir to bet everything on the losing horse. A total setup.
So he got tricked, basically fell for scams because he was greedy and inexperienced, proving Arcad's point about fickle fate and quick riches.
Absolutely. But here's the key. He lost the gold, but he still had the tablet, the wisdom. And eventually, hitting rock bottom forced him to actually read it and think about it.
The light bulb finally went on.
It did. He resolved that if he ever got another chance, he would follow his father's wisdom, not his own youthful impulses. And those 5 laws became his guide.
Okay, let's break down these 5 laws. They seem like the ultimate distillation of Babylonian financial wisdom.
They really are. Law number 1.
Law 1, saving. Gold comes readily and increasing quantity to any man who will put by not less than 1/10 of his earnings. Basically reaffirming that first cure. Pay yourself first, 10% minimum.
Foundational. Then law 2, investing. Gold labors diligently and contentedly for the wise owner who finds for it profitable employment, multiplying even as the flocks of the field. So savings aren't enough. You have to make the money work and grow.
Right. The third cure again. Make it multiply. Next.
Law 3. Advice. Gold clings to the protection of the cautious owner who invests it under the advice of men wise in its handling. This is where Nomir really learned his lesson.
How did he apply this one differently the second time around?
When he started to rebuild his fortune, working in Nineveh, he made a point of associating with experienced, successful men. He watched them. When a major opportunity came up, pooling funds to buy metals for the king's huge new bronze gates, he saw how carefully they planned.
They didn't just jump in.
No, they talked it over endlessly, checked every angle, made sure their principal was safe. They were cautious and skilled. By working with them, Nomir learned how to invest safely and profitably. That was his turning point.
Okay, Law 4.
Law 4. Unfamiliar ventures. Gold slippeth away from the man who invests it in businesses or purposes with which he's not familiar, or which are not approved by those skilled in its keep.
That directly addresses his first mistake, the merchant shop fiasco. Stick to what you know, or work with people who genuinely know.
Precisely. Ignorance combined with money is a dangerous mix. Don't dabble in things you don't understand.
And the final law, Law 5.
Law 5. Forcing earnings. Gold flees the man who would force it to impossible earnings, or who followeth the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers, or who trusts it to his own inexperience and romantic desires in investment.
So this covers both getting greedy, trying to make unrealistic returns, and falling for scams like the horse race bet.
Exactly. It's about patience, realistic expectations, and avoiding those too-good-to-be-true schemes. Wisdom means recognizing limits and dangers.
So Nomir finally internalizes these laws, and the result?
The result was the vindication of Arcad's test. After the 10 years were up, Nomir returned to Babylon. He met his father, and first he returned a bag of gold equal in weight to the one he'd originally lost. He made restitution.
Okay, squared things away.
But then he presented Arcad with 2 additional bags of gold, of equal weight, which he had earned entirely through applying the wisdom from that clay tablet.
Wow, so the wisdom was literally worth twice the initial capital, plus replacing the lost amount.
Far more, potentially, over a lifetime. It proved Arcad's central point. Knowledge, wisdom, and persistent application are infinitely more valuable than just having money dumped in your lap. Wealth is a skill you learn and practice.
It wasn't just about getting rich, though. These Babylonian principles also offered guidance on handling money responsibly in other ways, like lending and dealing with debt.
Absolutely. We get a fantastic lesson in risk assessment from Melathon, who's described as a prominent gold lender in Babylon.
Right, he's consulted by Rodan, the spearmaker. Rodan's just had a windfall of 50 gold pieces from the king, a lot of money.
A life-changing amount for him. And his immediate thought is to lend it all to his sister's husband, a guy named Ahriman. Ahriman wants to become a merchant, but he has zero experience, just big dreams.
A classic dilemma. Family obligation versus financial prudence. What was Melathon's take?
Melathon laid it out very clearly. He said, gold brings responsibility. And while wanting to help family is noble, good intentions can easily lead to disaster for everyone involved.
So what's the lender's duty, according to Melathon?
His core principle was that a loan must be well made. That means the borrower has to have a realistic ability to repay it without causing themselves undue hardship. The lender has a moral duty to judge carefully. Can this borrower actually use this money productively? Do they have the skills? Is the plan sound?
It's not just about getting your money back. It's about whether the loan actually helps the borrower succeed.
Exactly. Is it performing a useful purpose? And Melathon used his token chest to illustrate how he assessed risk.
Tokens, like collateral.
Basically, yes. He explained that safe loans were secured by tangible assets, tokens representing ownership of lands, jewels, even income-producing slaves, or by the borrower's proven, reliable earning capacity from their trade or skill. If they had property or a solid track record, the risk was lower.
And risky loans.
Risky loans were those made to people with neither assets nor proven earning power in the proposed venture. Especially dangerous were loans to people driven mainly by high hopes and enthusiasm, but lacking actual training or experience, like Ahriman.
So Melathon's advice to Rodan about lending to his brother-in-law was?
Blunt but wise. Keep your 50 gold pieces. Don't gamble the savings earned through a lifetime of hard work and self-denial on foolish sentiment.
Tough love.
Very. He said if Ahriman wants to be a merchant, great. Let him first go learn the trade, work for someone else, prove he has the aptitude, then maybe consider a loan. But lending based purely on family ties and hopeful dreams with no experience, that's just asking for trouble. Lend cautiously. Lend to proven ability.
Makes sense. Now, what about being on the other side? Being in debt? The story of Dabasir the saddlemaker is pretty powerful here.
Oh, it's a fantastic roadmap for getting out of debt.
Yeah.
Dabasir basically fell into the classic trap. Lifestyle inflation. He started indulging his desires, buying things he couldn't really afford on credit.
Living beyond his means.
Totally. And it snowballed. Soon he was drowning in debt, describing it as a whirlwind of trouble and humiliation. It got so bad, he actually fled Babylon to avoid his creditors and ended up captured and sold into slavery in Syria.
Wow. Debt literally led to bondage.
It did. And his wake-up call came while he was enslaved from his mistress, a woman named Sira. She delivered this incredibly sharp challenge to him.
What did she say?
He was probably complaining about his lot, maybe calling himself a free man at heart. And she just cut through it. She asked how he could dare call himself free when his own weakness, his inability to face his responsibilities, his debts, was the direct cause of his enslavement.
That's harsh.
Brutal, but necessary. She told him his debts were like enemies he had run away from instead of fighting. A man who doesn't pay his honest debts can't respect himself, and others won't respect him either. That hit him hard.
That was the turning point.
That was the catalyst. It gave him the resolve to escape, make his way back to Babylon, and actually face the music. He went to all his creditors, laid himself bare, and then he proposed a plan, the famous 70-20-10 plan.
Okay, this sounds practical. How did it work?
It's brilliantly simple and psychologically sound. He got his creditors to agree to this strict division of every single coin he earned going forward.
Break it down for us.
Okay, first, 7/10, 70%. This was strictly for living. Basic necessities, shelter, food, clothing, plus a small amount budgeted for some simple pleasures. So life wasn't pure drudgery. But he had to live only on this 70%. No exceptions. Strict budgeting, like Arcad's second cure.
Got it. What about the creditors?
2/10, 20%. This portion went directly to paying down his debts. And crucially, it was distributed pro rata among all his creditors.
Pro rata, meaning proportionally.
Exactly. If he owed creditor A twice as much as creditor B, creditor A got twice as much from that 20% payment pool. It was fair, systematic, and showed all his creditors he was serious about repayment.
Okay, that's 90% accounted for. What about the last 10%?
This is the genius part. 1/10, 10%. He kept this for himself. He paid himself first, just like Arcad taught.
Even while he was deep in debt.
Especially while he was deep in debt. That 10% wasn't huge, but saving it, seeing his own small purse begin to fatten again, gave him immediate self-respect. It proved he wasn't just working to pay off the past, he was also actively building a future for himself. It provided hope and motivation.
And did the plan work?
Amazingly well. Dabasir discovered that the discipline required by the 7-0-20-10 plan actually made him manage his life better than when he had 100% of his income to mismanage. He paid off every single debt. His own savings grew, he regained his self-respect, rebuilt his reputation, and eventually became a successful and wealthy camel trader.
It's an incredible turnaround story, discipline and a clear plan.
And a crucial mindset shift, reinforced by another slave he met, Megiddo, a farmer. Megiddo shared some simple wisdom about work itself.
What was that?
Basically, work is your best friend when you're down. Don't just focus on the drudgery, think about the positive outcome. If you focus on the good house you're building, Megiddo said, you won't mind carrying the heavy beams quite so much. Good, honest work, done well, builds you up as a person. It restores confidence.
So a combination of a practical financial plan and a positive work ethic.
That was Dabasir's recipe for redemption. He later reflected that the only difference between being a slave and being a respected citizen was whether he followed a consistent plan with determination or just drifted aimlessly.
Wow. Okay, this journey back to Babylon has been incredibly rich. We really have dug up some fundamental truths about money that feel just as solid today.
They really do. It's amazing how these core ideas persist. At the end of the day, so much of Archad's wisdom boils down to a few powerful actions.
Let's recap those. What are the absolute must-dos?
Well, number one, without a doubt, is paying yourself first. That non-negotiable saving of at least 1/10 of everything you earn. That's the starting engine. It has to happen.
Got it. Seed money first.
Then you absolutely have to control the rest, that rigorous budgeting of the remaining 9/10. Making sure your desire for a fattening purse overrides frivolous spending. That's the second cure in action.
Save first, budget the rest, and then
make every single saved coin work for you. Put it to labor. Build that golden stream of passive income, like Arcad taught with the third cure. Don't let your money be idle.
And underpinning all of that are those 5 laws of gold we discussed. They seem like the operating manual.
They really are, especially laws 3, 4, and 5, which are all about protecting your capital. Don't chase impossible returns. Stay away from ventures you don't understand.
And critically, get advice from people who actually know what they're doing. Avoid the Asmers of the world.
Absolutely crucial. That protects you from those catastrophic losses born of ignorance or trusting the wrong people.
And we also need to remember that lesson about luck and opportunity.
Yes. Don't be the procrastinator who lets chances slip away. Fortune seems to favor those who are prepared, recognize a good opportunity, and then act decisively. As Arcad put it, action will lead thee forward to the successes thou dost desire.
It's been fascinating to see how following these straightforward, almost simple laws consistently and persistently literally transformed lives back then, taking people from debt, even slavery, to wealth, freedom, and respect.
It really underscores that wealth isn't usually a sudden event. It's built gradually. The Babylonians saw it as a child born of 2 parents, knowledge and persistent purpose. You need both.
So maybe the final thought for you listening is this. We've heard these ancient, time-tested principles. Which one are you going to plant today? Which simple law will you put into action right now to start growing your own tree of wealth?
That's the challenge. It starts with one step, one decision.
Indeed. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into some truly ancient financial wisdom.
Until next time, keep digging into what matters.